Why is it that we start each year with such bold intention, only to find ourselves back at square one just weeks later? You download the meditation app, you buy the running shoes, you set up the perfectly organized planner, and yet 3 weeks later, you're right back where you started. The app sits unused, the shoes barely scuffed, the planner abandoned after page 7. It's not just you. The cycle of motivation and abandonment is something we all face. We all know what we should be doing, but knowing and doing are worlds apart. Think about it. How many times have you tried to build a new habit? How many times have you felt that initial surge of motivation, only to watch it slowly fade away like morning mist? The truth is, when it comes to habit formation, we've been taught all wrong. We've been told that discipline and willpower are the keys to success, that if we just try harder, want it more, or shame ourselves enough, we'll finally stick to our plans. But that approach is failing you, and it's not because you're weak or lazy or incapable. It's because the system itself is broken. The traditional approach to habit building is like trying to climb a mountain without a map. Exhausting, frustrating, and ultimately unsustainable. But what if I told you there was another way? A path that works with your psychology rather than against it? Because here's what nobody tells you about habits that actually stick. They're not built on motivation at all. Motivation is like a fair weather friend, thrilling when present, but nowhere to be found when you really need it. Real lasting habits are built on something much more reliable. They're built on system, on environment, on identity. Let's start with what doesn't work. Setting massive goals without a clear path to get there, relying on willpower alone, trying to change too much at once. These approaches fail because they ignore how our brains actually function. They work against our natural tendencies rather than with them. Think of it this way. Willpower isn't an unlimited resource. It's more like a muscle that gets tired. Each day, each decision, each temptation, they all drain that finite reserve. By evening, your willpower muscle is exhausted. Is it any wonder that your best intentions crumble right when you need them most? But here's where it gets interesting. When we understand how habit formation actually works in the brain, everything changes. We can work with our psychology instead of fighting against it. Let me introduce you to the habit loop. Cue, craving, response, reward. Every habit you have, good or bad, follows this pattern. The cue triggers a craving, which motivates a response, which provides a reward, which satisfies the craving, and ultimately becomes associated with the cue. This loop is the backbone of every habit, and understanding it gives you tremendous power, because when you can identify each component of your habit loops, you can intervene at any point. You can reshape them, redirect them, transform them. Let's break this down into practical steps. First, make it obvious. The cue is what triggers your habit, and many of our cues are invisible to us. They're so embedded in our environment that we don't even notice them. To build a new habit, you need to make its cue unmissable. Want to read more? Place a book on your pillow each morning. Want to exercise? Set out your workout clothes the night before. Want to eat healthier? Pre-prepare meals and place them at eye level in your fridge. Environmental design is not cheating. It's strategy. It's working with your brain instead of against it. Second, make it attractive. We're driven by the anticipation of reward, not the reward itself. This is why the chocolate bar calls to you from the pantry. It's not the taste, it's the anticipated pleasure that drives your behavior. To build habits that stick, you need to make them attractive. Pair something you want to do with something you need to do. Listen to your favorite podcast only while exercising. Enjoy your favorite coffee only after completing your morning writing. This is called temptation bundling, and it's enormously effective. Third, make it easy. Humans are fundamentally lazy. We follow the path of least resistance. This isn't a character flaw. It's energy conservation, and it's deeply wired into our biology. So rather than fighting this tendency, use it. Reduce friction for habits you want and increase friction for habits you don't. Want to practice guitar? Keep it on a stand in your living room, not packed away in a closet. Want to check social media less? Delete the apps and only access them through a browser. The path of least resistance will become the path you actually take. Think about it. How many times have you abandoned a new habit, not because you didn't want to do it, but because it was just too inconvenient in the moment? Fourth, make it satisfying. We repeat what we enjoy. This is perhaps the most important rule of all, yet the one we most often ignore. If your new habit isn't immediately rewarding, you'll struggle to maintain it. The human brain prioritizes immediate rewards over delayed ones. This is why it's so hard to save money, eat healthy, or exercise regularly. The rewards are all delayed. To overcome this, you need to add immediate rewards to your habits. Completed a workout? Give yourself 5 minutes of guilt-free relaxation. Saved money? Transfer a small percentage into a fun fund. Make the immediate experience of your habit more enjoyable, and you'll be more likely to repeat it. Now, let's address the elephant in the room: failure. You will fail, your streak will break, You will miss days. This is not a sign that you're doing it wrong. It's an inevitable part of the process. The difference between those who build lasting habits and those who don't isn't that some never fail. It's that some know how to get back on track when they do. This is called the never miss twice rule. If you miss one day, that's an accident. Miss 2 in a row, and you're forming a new habit. The habit of not doing the thing you intended. When you inevitably slip up, don't let it become a landslide. Get back on track immediately. Not tomorrow, not next week, not on Monday, or the first of the month, or the new year. Now, the next possible opportunity. Because here's what I've learned about habit formation after years of studying it. Habits are not about achieving perfection. They're about establishing a new normal, a slightly better baseline than before. And this leads me to what might be the most important insight of all. The true purpose of habits isn't the behavior itself. It's who that behavior helps you become. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you want to be. Want to be a reader? Each page you read is a vote for that identity. Want to be healthy? Each workout, each nutritious meal is a vote for that self-image. Over time, these votes accumulate and your identity shifts. You don't just do the thing, you become the kind of person who does the thing. And once your identity changes, the behavior becomes natural. You're no longer fighting against yourself. You're simply acting in alignment with who you believe yourself to be. This is why the most effective habit changes begin with identity. Not, I want to run a marathon, but I want to become a runner. Not, I want to write a book, but I want to be a writer. Decide the type of person you want to be. Prove it to yourself with small wins. Watch as your identity and your habits transform. Let me share something personal with you. For years, I struggled with consistency. I'd start strong with new habits, exercise routines, writing practices, meditation, only to abandon them weeks later. Each failure reinforced my belief that I was just not a disciplined person. But when I began applying these principles, making cues obvious, making habits attractive, making them easy and making them satisfying, everything changed. I stopped relying on motivation. I designed my environment for success. I focused on identity-based habits. And gradually, the person I was becoming aligned with the person I wanted to be. The habits that once required enormous effort now feel natural, even necessary. Not because I found some magical reserve of willpower, but because I worked with my psychology rather than against it. And you can do the same. So let's summarize what we've learned. Forget motivation. Design systems instead. Make the cue obvious. Make the habit attractive. Make it easy. Make it satisfying. Never miss twice. Focus on identity, not outcome. These principles aren't just theories. They're backed by decades of psychological research. They work because they align with how our brains actually function, not how we wish they would. And here's one final thought to consider. Habits are the compound interest of self-improvement. Just as money multiplies through compound interest, the effects of your habits multiply as you repeat them. They seem to make little difference on any given day, yet the impact they deliver over months and years can be enormous. It's only when looking back 2, 5, or 10 years later that the value of good habits and the cost of bad ones becomes strikingly apparent. This is why small habits make a big difference. It's not about making radical changes overnight. It's about the patient accumulation of small improvements. So start small, ridiculously small. A 2-minute meditation, a single push-up, 1 paragraph written. Because a habit must be established before it can be improved. It must become a standard part of your life before you can worry about optimizing. Walk before you run, crawl before you walk. Your new habits don't need to be impressive at first. They just need to exist. Build the habit first, perfect it later. The journey of building lasting habits isn't about finding perfect conditions or mustering superhuman willpower. It's about making the journey itself valuable, enjoyable, satisfying, because when the process becomes the reward, the habit becomes who you are. And that's when habits truly stick. The question isn't whether you'll form habits, you already have them. The question is whether they're taking you where you want to go. So start today, not with giant leaps, but with tiny steps. Not with perfection, but with consistency. Your future self is watching, and they're counting on you to start building the habits that will shape who they become. Make them proud.